you're watching a new episode of Melt, I'm Ritvika Gupta. This week, we are taking a closer look at the role of design in building a brand. We'll be presenting a few highlights from the recently concluded Kyoorius Designyatra 2021. This year, the theme of the fully virtual conference was Designers as Citizens, a concept that asks speakers to answer the questions, what makes good design good and what makes designers good citizens? More than 20 speakers, including graphic designers, illustrators, typographers, architects, and product, interior, and spatial designers, addressed delegates across 2 parallel tracks over 2 days. And today, we at Melt have curated a few sessions for the marketing mind. Let's begin with a session from creative director Morihiro Harano, the founder of Mori Inc. With numerous awards to his name, Morihiro-san's work spans advertising, strategy, product design, and media initiatives. Listen in.
For today's talk, the theme is Designers as Citizens. I thought a bit about what my talk should be. And today, I talk about how so effing cool changed the world. I know I'm still working on my English, so you might have heard the F word. I'd appreciate your kind understanding. To start off, I'd like to show you 3 TV commercials that I have made in period of 2016 to 2018. These were created with cosmetic brand Aporva. The brief from Aporva was to recruit beauty advisor for their stores. Please take a look.
この国は女性にとって発展途上国だ。限られたチャンス、立ちはだかるアンフェア。かつての常識はただのしがらみになっている。それが私には不自由だ。迷うな、惑わされるな。大切なことは私自身が知っている。これからだ、私。自分という旗を立てよう。ポーラ。この国には幻の女性が住んでいる。世間が、そして私自身が作った幻想。誰かのそうあるべきが重なって、いつの間にか私が私の鎖になりそうになる。けれど縛るな、縛られるな。翼はなくとも私は飛び立てる。これからだ、私。ポーラリクルートフォーラム。この国では2つの顔が必要だ。個性を大切にと学校は教える。空気を読めと会社は言う。その息苦しさが心をどんよりと曇らせる。けれども私は私。自分だけの風を吹かせたい。私は準備ができている。世の中はどうだ。ポーラリクルートフォーラム。
This TVC led to a storm of conversation about our society, such as this female-targeted magazine that made a special feature about the commercial. This magazine has nothing to do with advertising, just a weekly publication for women. The TVC opened with the narration for women. This is still a third world country. This is a point that really resonated with the people. While Japan is an advanced country, in terms of gender equality, it's not advanced. In March 2021, the World Economic Forum published the Global Gender Gap Report 2021, which contains the Gender Gap Index. Among 156 countries, Japan ranked 120th, India ranked 140th. Unfortunately, both Japan and India scored quite low in terms of gender equality for women. In the commercial in Japan, women usually appear with a smile on their face. On the other hand, no smiling women in this commercial. This point also got people talking. Some men with old-fashioned value took to social media to object the commercial. However, large number of women praise it. Paula has received many phone calls from women saying, "You made our voice heard." I heard that many people have also called to say they will buy Paula products from now on. The funny thing is that no Paula product was featured in the commercial. The influence of this commercial has also reached other brands that had been hesitant to make a stand on social issues. And many of them starting to bring out commercials that tackle the issue of gender equality. Even now, this movement is still going strong. At that time, during interview, I was asked questions like, "Why did you make such a commercial? Are you feminist yourself?" In such official situations, I responded properly and seriously. But today, for the very first time, I must confess. The real reason I made this commercial is simply I wanted to make something that is effing cool. This is my main message today. Designers as citizens, to achieve this, there is no need to be a particularly model human being. All we need to do is to focus on doing our job. Create effing cool work. Why? Because actions that can push society forward are the ones that are so effing cool.
Now let's hear from one of the most celebrated and respected design duos today, Aporva Baxi and Simon Dixon from brand and design consultancy DixonBaxi. Known for their superlative work for AC Milan, AT&T, the EPL, Audible and Regent's Place, among others, the duo asked delegates to question how design can truly make a difference.
Another thing we wanted to talk about is make a difference. And it means that we're looking ahead to the future, and we're looking at how the work might impact a community, how it might impact people in their lives, and essentially add some level of value to that. And one of the projects that we've done in the UK is actually with a client of ours called British Land, which actually owns and develops neighbourhoods in the heart of London and across the UK. And one of the projects that we worked on recently was for Regent's Place, which is at the cross-section of 3 parts of London. And the real focus of that was thinking about the future of a neighbourhood, essentially. And there's an area of London called Camden, another Fitzrovia, and the Knowledge Quarter. And the identity that we created, this R, the symbol of that more sustainable future, was the confluence of these 3 areas. And at the heart of it was an idea. We called it RISE. And it really stands for Responsible, Inclusive, Sustainable Environment. And the thought that as a neighborhood, as a community, as a development with offices and retail and so on, it's always pioneering, progressing, and a place to rise. So it really gave space for the businesses and the brand to continually evolve and focus on a sustainable future. You know, when we're looking at things like identity, we do look at the edges. And this is just a simple snapshot of how we explored the R symbol. But more than anything, it has to have a story. And when we realized that there were 3 districts that were coming together, and Regent's Place sat at the heart of that. That resulted in an identity that really stood out and had a story. And as part of the work, we're looking at motion and how that evokes the idea of growth and the idea of rise. So this is just one of many, videos and sequences that we created to express the feeling of the brand and the identity. And as it comes to life, in a sense, it's really simple. The logo is actually transparent a lot of the times. It's what's seen through it, the community growing behind it over the years that's important. And that relationship is very much part of the Regent's Place story. And we're thinking about the conversation that we ignite. And more than anything, it's the feeling of transparency. The fact that as a business, as a development, it's actually talking and conversing with the community and the workers in that space. And so language is critically important to that. And this feeling of it being calm and quiet and has a very tactile quality. And even signage is made from reclaimed wood, propelling that idea of sustainability. Posters were screen printed on, throwaway, discarded paper. All these ideas create and build on that. And lastly on this, one small detail was even thinking about using light fonts, saving on ink, and even not printing things. And if we do, our black is not 100% black. It has, a softness to it, which, is relevant to the brand, but also saves on ink. So all of those details matter when we think about making a difference.
Now we'll hear from designer Neha Tulsian, who founded Gurugram-based design shop NH1 Design in 2013. In her talk, Neha threw light on design for good and explored how design can help find answers to big problems. Take a look.
You know what? Social change was never my vision for being a designer or start NH1 Design. I used to feel that's something only governments and NGOs need to solve for. I started to notice we can make a difference and the impact design has on people. So I actually stumbled upon design for good. Let me share a personal story. That's my daughter, Ira. She's about 2.5 years old now. Whenever she used to fall sick, I used to find it very hard to read the doctor's prescription. I had to keep referring back to the prescription to ensure I was giving her the right medication on right time. I could be a little daft, but if you just look at that prescription, it says Altride once a day into 3 days, then Levelin again thrice a day, so morning, evening, night. And to top it all off, I had to leave for work. Now meet Vandana. She's Ira's nanny. Vandana cannot read English. She can just about scan pictures and numbers. And when I had to leave for work, I had to explain her nanny what to give her. Most patients, whether they're educated or uneducated, have a very hard time reading a doctor's prescription. So, I used to draw these icons for Vandana. I used to draw the moon so that it has to be given in the night, or I used to draw the sun, it has to be given in the morning. So I questioned myself, can there be a better way to visually communicate when to consume medicines? So we designed this visual device. It could be translated into multiple languages, and we could probably give it to the pharmacist so patients can understand when to have the medicine. But then I questioned myself again. Now, do I really expect the pharmacist to do this extra work? Read the prescription, put the sticker on every medicine. Should it be a sticker or should it be a pouch? Or should it be a part of the packaging itself? Guys, we're still testing this out. I don't have the right answer, but we are working with Pharmacy and some other brands to see if we can actually do something with this problem. So, but this shows that looking for problems, which we often overlook in our daily lives, could actually be the starting point for being a socially conscious designer. If you're facing a problem, someone else might be facing a similar problem. Try to voice it and solve it.
Next, we'll hear from Thom Newton, CEO of design-led branding agency Conram Design Group. In a session that helped designers with solutions to several daily challenges, Thom also talked about the role of good briefs and how design can help brands shape purpose and direction.
An image, a piece of artwork actually, popped into my head when I was thinking about the session today. and the topic. And we're creatives and makers, all of us in different ways. And this image of a piece of work by a gentleman called Martin Creed, which I think is toured around the world, so maybe you've seen it. The whole world plus the work is the whole world. And for me, that really talks to the centrality of the impact that we can have, in the interactions we make, in the work that we do, in the way that we do it. So when we make the world. And given that, we better think about the brief, and we better focus on getting the brief right, so the value is added. And in my view, the best creative briefs are not simply a set of requirements. They provide the territory in which we can imagine and in which we can create. And that territory is a space bounded and defined by opportunities and constraints. And sometimes these are very singular and they relate to, a single direction. Sometimes they pull apart and they introduce creative tensions that need to be resolved. I'll take you through them now. My view is everyone who comes into the design industry has an innate natural instinct to try and connect and to try and unify. I think that's what motivates us generally. But often we work with exclusive brands, and our role and the role of design is about helping people to navigate their choices. But exclusivity is not the same as exclusion. And I think we have a responsibility in everything we do to make sure that nobody gets inadvertently left out or left behind by poor design or by clumsy cultural assumptions. Refining your audience, defining your target, that's fine. They're both fine. Discrimination and bias are not. And design is constantly about making choices. And that means we must be conscious of the choices that we make as designers and aim to be aware of the unconscious biases that can sometimes negatively affect our decisions. And when we work with our clients, what they want us to do is they want us to create commercial advantage. Ultimately, it's about good economics. And hopefully they want to do the right things. They want to do what's right, but there's no getting away from it. That as designers, we are accomplices to consumerism. So whether it's fast fashion, fast food, fast cars, our job is often to sell more of it. And I appreciate that we don't always have a choice. We can't handpick our clients necessarily. But where we can, and what we should strive to do, is to work with clients who have a clear commitment to sustainability and help them to achieve those goals, sometimes incrementally, sometimes more fundamentally. More and more often now, we have this role and influence in many parts of their businesses, right the way up to the boardroom. Design now is a boardroom agenda item for many businesses. And we're in a unique position that we can influence directly on corporate culture, on customer experience, and on boardroom agendas. And sometimes it's when our work starts, a rebranding exercise, for example, it's at that point that the questions get asked, the why, the how. And I think we always should try and strive to be a positive influence and an influence for good in those decision-making processes.
Besides visual design, Kyoorius Designyatra also saw the participation of architects, product, textile, interior, and spatial designers. One of them was set designer Shree from Priya and Satya Designs. Her talk acted as a 101 course to the craft of set design and gave the audience a perspective on how characters in a film can impact spaces and how production design help bring brands to life.
Every citizen is unique, so is their story. And we try to bring roots of those stories in our sets. Now, the tool which we have is visual communication. And visual communication is the language which can be communicated to anyone and everyone. It is irrespective of any age, class, culture, community. It's a sketch or it's just a drawing which everyone will understand. So it's like for every citizen who is there, or every person. So as a designer, it is our duty to communicate the right information to them. Like, for example, these are all the sets of just the houses. Like, the first image which we see, it's a set for a modern girl who is successful. She's really successful, but she's very lonely and her life has become too monotonous. So you can see the whole space is very graphic, and it's very like you should choose each and every prop or a stuff which is there in her house, and it's very minimalistic, but it's very lonely, and that loneliness of the character needs to come in the space which we are creating. That's why we give justice to that particular character of a film. It all depends on the character and their stories. And similarly, like, again, there are brands like the image which is there, it's a Himalaya ad. It was for a young college girl, so the space needs to look like a college girl. Like, it should have fun, it should have energy, it should look like an upper middle class house, but it should also convey the brand colors, which is Himalaya has this new skincare cream which they have come out with. They have a packaging of maroon and a little bit of orange and green. So we tried to put these colors in the palette. So whenever they shot, they found an image which has the color palette going through. So similarly, next one is the bachelor pad. It's again a house or a studio apartment for a guy who is a bachelor. He will not care about anything around, and it's just the things are scattered around. But in totality, it needs to look pretty. It needs to look complete. So that was the another space. The space below that is a very contemporary, modern space which we made it for Snapchat. Now, Snapchat is a brand which is for the modern youth. It's for today's time. So you want to show that classiness. The brief was it should look like a New York place, and that's what we have tried to create on that set. It should look modern. It should look interesting. It should look like you're sitting in like some 5-star hotel or on the top of a building, and you're just having and chilling and meeting a date or something. So that was the space which we created for the Snapchat. So we have to cater the audience, and audience will only believe in the brand when you give them a space which is very close to them. So these are the houses. These are the same houses, but people of different profession, different genre, different culture, different community, they will have a very different outlook of it. They will have a very different space to themselves. That's what we do.
For more details on Kyoorius Designyatra, you can visit DixonBaxi.com and 2021.DixonBaxi.com. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of Melt. You can follow us on social media. Our handle is Ready to Melt. And stay updated with all that's happening in the world of advertising and marketing with our daily Melt update on our website, readytomelt.com. I shall see you next week. Goodbye.